in a city. So do we have those land uses that support, I would say, some meaningful living in a city? Let's move on. So we have one example there is Florihof. The other example there is Cosmos City. The funny part, just yeah, now we cover these ones. Can you just go to the table? That table, I think we had covered all these. These are examples of, yeah, this is also a case that we could learn from. So I don't know, maybe you could quickly do this exercise, a very good one, just like Prof. Nkanda, I learned from the best. So this is a very good example to say where you stay, how many minutes do you take to access public transport? We're back to the village, Prof. Nkanda. We're back to the village. It used to be 30 minutes. Now we're saying where you stay now, how many minutes do you take? Can we do a quick exercise? Time taken to access functions or facilities where you stay. So let's say the starting point, the reference point is your residential suburb. Where you stay, public transport, is it the first one? You can do a calculation. Then employment, how many minutes? Do you take 30 minutes? So if it's 30 minutes, then you give a score 1. If it's 10 minutes, you give a score 5, because it's closer. That's the idea. Then shopping, how many minutes do you take to get to the nearest? During COVID, if I can tell you something interesting, during COVID, that's when one would tell that you are trying or assisting others to live if you are surviving. Because you are told you are not going to use public transport, you are not allowed to drive. In South Africa, it was very strict. So you can't use public transport, you can't drive. And the police are everywhere. And we're talking about neighborhood development. How is your neighborhood? Can you walk and get the necessities? That's when one could realize that I'm far from work. And if I try to go to work, no matter things are pressing, then possibilities of meeting police are very high. Then education facilities. How many minutes do you drive to drop your kids or your grandkids or that, or to access a library and all that? In terms of health, how about clinics? Is it 10 minutes? You give yourself a 5. Recreation. How many minutes do you have to walk? So we would want really, for example, within the corridors of freedom, within all these discourses that we're talking about, there's need really to, you can move on. There's need really to ensure that we support active living. So towards the polyfunctional proximity localization or neighborhood model. So we would want a 10-minute neighborhood model that we could develop and apply. I heard this, the famous one is the 15-minute city, FMC is very popular, but we're saying, can we get better and have a 10-minute city in terms of proximity? It's possible. And how do you do that? We're saying, let's have more like polycentric, more centers instead of monocentric, where we have a city center and everyone has to access the city center to get served. That's what we're challenging. Where the people are, what are we doing? Are we developing where the people are in terms of employment, industry, commercial? Are we ensure that transport is efficient within? Let's go to the people, not say people come to us. That's how you serve people in a holistic manner. So this is very critical. So local-based planning is very, very critical. Polyfunctional proximity localization improves access to jobs and services. Local-based planning supports modal shift. So one could walk, one could cycle, but it's very difficult to cycle for 40 kilometers. Why don't you take services closer to the people? That's the nexus, that's the interface we're talking about. Can we bring interconnections, the intersections of the three? Where people live, they have efficient transport, and they don't need the transport to go far. The employment, the commercial, that's retail, all these services there within 5 minutes, 10 minutes, it's a possibility. Even health facilities. So the way forward, let's have the proximity-based access to daily services, very, very critical. And these support inclusivity. And let's reduce dependence on cars. I think they do it in the developed world, where they encourage citizen residents to use public transport. Very, very critical. Even the parking is very, very expensive. so much around a private car is very, very expensive, to discourage the use of a private car. Then use public transport, very, very. So walkable neighborhoods, can we develop walkable neighborhoods to get the services? We need to prioritize residents' experiences. Let's not plan for them and just go and say, I'm an engineer, I'm an architect, I'm a civil engineer, this is the best for you. My time, let's move on. All right, in conclusion, we need all this micro connectivity, where, like I was talking about, safe crossings. Why do we need in communities, in these neighborhood areas, why do we need these freeways running through? And you have to move and look around and all that, struggle to cross to access services. So let's make sure that there's connectivity, accessibility, and all these things. Policy integration, now we come to the softer issues. Where is government? Where is private sector? The government in all its spheres, from national government, provincial government, local government, as in municipalities, can we work together with the transport planning, infrastructure investment agencies and all that? Very, very critical. And residents as well at the center of development. Okay, this is the end. Thank you very much. You're skipping my slides. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. But the discourse is about, are we serving the people? Maybe that one, for the people, by the people, with the people. Are we serving the people? Or we know transport systems that work well and they are so efficient and they run for, I don't know, but how much is it? Have you stopped and reflected on the, for example, the quality of service? That's one study that we also do. Quality of service, affordability, connectivity, all those are critical in our research. And transport is beautiful. My first one, like Gauteng, 160 kilometers per hour in South Africa, but very expensive. It's okay for some, affordable for some, but for the people that are supposed to be served, the urban poor, so-called, some have never been on the Gauteng since 2010. Thank you very much. Questions? Oh, isn't it? Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much, Professor Kumba. I think we have a very pertinent question. Are we serving the people, Honorable Minister? Academicians, are we serving people? Researchers, are we serving the people? Or are we just ticking boxes? Because of time, I think we will vary the program a little bit. We were supposed to have a question and answer session at the end of the presentation by architect Namaona, but we will do that immediately after we come back from tea. And this time around, let me invite architect Namaona to give his keynote address. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Master of Ceremony, Dr. Jolin Taba, Honorable Minister of Transport and Public Works, Honorable Japi Muhango, the Principal Secretary for Administration in the Ministry of Transport and Public Works, Mr. Harrington Gondwe, the Vice Chancellor. Thank you very much. The Vice Chancellor for Malawi University of Business and Applied Sciences, Associate Professor Nasich Taylor, the Deputy Vice Chancellor, Professor Ishmael Kosam, the Director of Buildings, Architect Limbana Sukasuka, the Executive Dean, School of Engineering, Associate Professor Bennett Gondwe, the Executive Dean, School of the Built Environment, Associate Professor Witness Kocha, all Executive Deans, Heads of Academic Departments, all Professors, Professor Musonda, Professor Gumbo, CEO for SIRA, representatives of the industry, Professor Nkandawili, the chairperson of the organizing committee. All protocol observed. Associate Professor Ben Kandawiri, let me also take part of your shine away from you. I also want to claim the Honorable Minister. I worked with the Honorable Minister from 2017 to 2019. The Honorable Minister is someone who is very diligent about his work. He's somebody who knows what he wants. When he goes to a ministry, he will set clearly what his vision is. He's a result oriented and he's a straight talker. You are messing around, he'll be clear with you. So that's the type of minister that we have in government. He is indeed a result-oriented person. No wonder you now have a road in your constituency in Rompi. And no wonder we're seeing transformation in the transport sector, especially road infrastructure, the maintenance that is going on, the new roads that are now emerging. So that's how result-oriented the Honourable Minister is. Ladies and gentlemen, I sincerely thank the Malawi University of Business and Applied Sciences, the University of Johannesburg, Caribbean, ASIM, for inviting me to contribute to this important conference. This conference, Infrastructure for a New Development Era, Climate Resilience, Innovation, Investment, could not have come at a more appropriate time. At this point, I would like to place one preposition before you. Infrastructure must enable economic transformation. We often think of infrastructure in physical terms. It has already been mentioned, such as roads, bridges, irrigation systems, power lines, markets, schools, hospitals, and tourism facilities. Of course, infrastructure is all this, but infrastructure is much more than what we build. It is about what we build enables. Infrastructure is opportunity. Infrastructure is productivity. Infrastructure is the road that connects a farmer to a market. It is irrigation schemes that enables a farmer to produce throughout the year. It is energy that turns agricultural produce into manufactured goods. It is digital connection that links a rural entrepreneur to information, finance, and markets. And ultimately, infrastructure is the foundation upon which nations build prosperity. Ladies and gentlemen, for Malawi, this distinction is particularly important. Our national aspirations under Malawi 2063 call for a transformation anchored on agriculture, productivity, commercialization, industrialization, and urbanization. None of these pillars can succeed, of course, without infrastructure. But equally, not every infrastructure investment automatically produces development. The question, therefore, should not simply be, what infrastructure are we? We must also ask, what economic transformation will this infrastructure enable? That is the question I would like us to carry throughout our discussion at this conference. Consider agriculture. More than 80% of our population lives in rural areas, and agriculture remains the dominant source of livelihood. Yet many of our rural communities continue to face impassable roads, unreliable energy, droughts, floods, limited digital connectivity, inadequate storage, and restricted access to markets. These may appear to be infrastructure challenges, but they are also economic challenges. A farmer may produce a surplus harvest, but if that farmer cannot reach a market, if the produce cannot be stored, if there is no electricity for processing, or if floods wash away the road connecting that community to buyers, then production alone does not create prosperity. This is why agriculture commercialization must be viewed through the infrastructure lens. Commercialization begins when farmers can produce reliably throughout the year. It happens when produce can be aggregated, stored, processed, transported efficiently. It happens when infrastructure allows agriculture to move from being predominantly a subsistence activity towards becoming a competitive and profitable business. And this brings us to the importance of resilience. Climate change is already changing the conditions under which we plan, design, construct, and manage infrastructure. We therefore cannot continue designing infrastructure purely on the basis of yesterday's climatic conditions. Our roads must withstand increased severe rainfall events. Our bridges and drainage systems must respond to changing hydrological conditions. Our irrigation infrastructure must help reduce dependence on increasing unpredictable rainfalls. We're talking about El Nino potential this year. Projects such as Shire Valley irrigation projects, and perhaps Chipofia, again from your village, Associate Professor Nkandawili in Rompi, across and other irrigation schemes across the country demonstrate strategic importance of reliable water infrastructure for agricultural production. Climate resilience, therefore, is not an optional addition to infrastructure development. It must become part of the way we conceive, design, finance, construct, maintain infrastructure. Ladies and gentlemen, the same logic applies to energy. Much of the value in agriculture is created after production. Through storage, processing, packaging, transportation, and distribution. For that transformation to happen, we need reliable, affordable, and increasingly clean energy. When electricity reaches rural centers, it does more than illuminate the buildings. It can power a mill. If you're a farmer for soya, you can add value. You can press that soya, extract oil as a result of availability of power. It can support oil extraction and food processing. It can provide refrigeration and cold storage. It can support modern water systems. It can extend business operating hours. And increasingly, it provides a gateway to digital and financial services. If we are to include the rural masses, we have to make sure that energy is always available in the rural areas. That is economic transformation enabled by infrastructure. When agricultural products begin feeding manufacturing and processing industries, another pillar of Malawi 2063 becomes possible. Industrialization. A competitive industrial economy requires reliable energy, transport network, water systems, activity, and well-planned industrial infrastructure. But it also requires infrastructure that is properly designed, constructed, infrastructure that complies with appropriate standards, regulation, infrastructure that is functional, safe, durable, economic throughout its life cycle. As an architect, I would summarize all these requirements simply as functionality, functionality, and functionality. Because a beautiful piece of infrastructure that cannot efficiently perform the function for which it was created represents a lost development opportunity. This transformation also has an important spatial dimension. As rural economies become more productive, rural growth centers expand, traditional centers become towns, towns become cities. This is why urbanization should not simply be understood as the physical growth of cities. It should be understood as a spatial expression of economic transformation. The investments we make today in rural growth centers, transport networks, markets, energy, water, and digital infrastructure will therefore influence the shape of Malawi's future urban systems. And our existing urban infrastructure must not be neglected. There's been mentioned about the need for maintenance. We must maintain what we already have while strategically investing in new infrastructure capable of supporting growing populations and increasingly complex economic activities. Ladies and gentlemen, this brings me to another critical element of today's theme: innovation. The scales of Malawi's infrastructure needs means that we cannot simply continue doing everything the way we have always done. We need innovation in how we plan. We need innovation in how we design. Innovation in construction methods and materials. Innovations in procurement. Innovations in infrastructure financing, and innovation in how we operate and maintain assets that we create. But innovation must solve real problems. Technology for its own sake is not transformation. Innovation becomes meaningful when it allows us to build faster, build better, reduce life cycle costs, increase resilience, and deliver infrastructure to communities that previously did not access it. And none of this will be achieved by play alone. Especially, it cannot just be achieved by government. The infrastructure requires Malawi 2063 partnership, government, the academia, the private sector, development partners, investors, and local communities. Government must create an enabling policy and regulatory environment. Academia must generate the knowledge, the research, and the innovation. The private sector must bring capital, technology, efficiency, and entrepreneurship. Development partners can bring financing, expertise from the lessons across the globe, and international experience. And communities, which we serve, or we must always serve, as the previous speaker said, the people, must not merely be recipients of infrastructure. They must participate in shaping, protecting, and deriving economic value from it. This is where investment partnerships become particularly important. We must increasingly view infrastructure expenditure not simply as a cost, but as an investment in productive capacity. And every major infrastructure investment should therefore invite some fundamental questions. What economic activities will this investment unlock? What jobs will it create? What businesses will it support? What private investments will it attract? What communities will it connect? And how resilient will its benefits be 20, 30, 50 years from now? Ladies and gentlemen, perhaps we must also consider how we measure success. Success cannot simply be the number of kilometers of road constructed. It cannot simply be the number of markets built, bridges completed or rehabilitated, irrigation schemes commissioned, or megawatts installed. Certainly, projects must be delivered on time, within scope, within budget, and to the required quality. But those are measures of project delivery that all of us here are very familiar with. The ultimate measure, however, of infrastructure success is development impact. Did that road reduce the cost of transporting agricultural produces? Did that market increase farmers' income? Did that irrigation scheme in Chipofia increase productivity and resilience? Did that energy investment stimulate new businesses? Did that digital infrastructure connect previously excluded communities to economic opportunities? Did people's lives actually improve? Those are the questions that tell us whether infrastructure has fulfilled its development purposes. Ladies and gentlemen, as I conclude, allow me to turn to the proposition which I began with. Infrastructure must enable economic transformation. Our challenge is not simply to build more, as others have already also highlighted. Our challenge is to build with purpose. To build infrastructure that is resilient to a changing climate. To embrace innovation that solves real development problems. To mobilize investment that creates productive capacity. And above all, to build infrastructure that connects people to opportunities. If we get this right, we will build roads that connect farmers to markets. We will build energy systems that connect production to industry. We will build digital infrastructure that connects rural communities to knowledge, finance, and opportunity. We will build urban infrastructure that supports productive, inclusive, and sustainable cities. We will build tourism infrastructure that connects visitors to Malawi's extraordinary destinations. And ultimately, we will build infrastructure that connects Malawi today to the Malawi we envision in 2063. Ladies and gentlemen, is the infrastructure of a new development era not infrastructure merely as physical assets? Infrastructure should be opportunity. Infrastructure should be productivity. Infrastructure should be resilience. Infrastructure must transform. And the conversation I hope we can have after these speeches. I thank you for your attention. May God bless you all. May God bless Malawi. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Architect Namaona. I think there's one common denominator that keeps on reappearing, and it is that any infrastructure that does not have a common person in the village is a white elephant. And it keeps on appearing from each and every presenter who's actually stood here. Ladies and gentlemen, our distinguished guests, VC, it's now my singular honor to invite you, Madam VC, to make your official address, and thereafter invite our distinguished guests to officially open the function. Thank you.
Our guest of honor, before I go into my formal speech, allow me to summarize what I have heard from the two keynote speakers this morning with a phrase that I've got. And the phrase that I am taking away from these presentations is enduring impact. I think that's what we need. Then impact that will endure, a long-lasting impact on the community. Thank you very much to all, to both keynote speakers. I think it was a wonderful, wonderful presentation. Thank you very much. Our guest of honor, Honorable Japi Muhango, MP, Minister of Transport and Public Works, Mr. Fergus Gondwe, Principal Secretary for Administration in the Ministry of Transport and Public Works, and all directors and senior government officials here present, the Deputy Vice Chancellor, Professor Ishmael Kosam, all executive deans, directors, and heads of departments here present, all CEOs and industry captains here present, representatives of government, representatives of professional bodies, our developmental partners and collaborating institutions, the chairperson of the local organizing committee, Professor Teresa Nkandawire, and members of your committee, distinguished researchers, academics, and students, all invited guests, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. On behalf of the Malawi University of Business and Applied Sciences, it is my great honor and privilege to welcome you to the 12th International Conference on Infrastructure Development and Investment in Africa, DII 2026. Let me begin by extending our warmest welcome to our guest of honor this morning, Honorable Jabi Mhango, MP, Minister of Transport and Public Works. Honorable Minister, we are deeply honored by your presence. Your participation demonstrates the importance that government attaches to infrastructure development, research, innovation, as well as partnerships in advancing Malawi's development agenda. I also warmly welcome all our keynote speakers, the researchers, academics, industry leaders, the policymakers that we have here, professional bodies, practitioners, and students who have joined us from Malawi, from Africa, and beyond. This year's conference is particularly significant for MUBAS because for the first time, we have the privilege of hosting this established international conference series in Malawi, in collaboration with the University of Johannesburg and the Center for Applied Research and Innovation in the Built Environment. We sincerely thank our partners for entrusting MUBAS with this responsibility, and I hope we didn't disappoint you. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, and our honorable guest of honor, DII, as we have said and we have heard, is more than a conference for presenting academic papers. And we are witnesses from the two keynote addresses that have been presented before us. You agree with me that it's not just about a paper. It's not just about publication. Today we are talking about impact. And as researchers, as professional bodies, as government officials, we know that whatever we are doing, if it doesn't touch anyone somewhere, then we need to reflect on what we are doing. So it is intended as a forum where all of us should engage, we should exchange knowledge, we should generate outputs that should contribute to the development goals. Who are we looking at and whose impact? I don't know what are the objectives of this particular conference. Yes, we have the objectives on paper, but have we defined the beneficiary of this particular conference? The impact that we're going to make at the end of this meeting. Next year, for example, when we meet again as the DII conference, we will be able to say and to show the impact of this meeting. If not, then why are we here? Because the two keynote speakers here, that's what they have demonstrated. Whatever development we are doing, there must be an impact. So this year's theme, Infrastructure for a New Development Era, Climate Resilience, Innovation and Investment Partnerships, could not have come at an appropriate time. Our infrastructure needs are increasing, while at the same time, we are confronting major challenges arising from the climate change. We have the issues of rapid urbanization in the midst of financing constraints and the need for more innovative approaches to infrastructure delivery. Across Africa, infrastructure is no longer simply about roads, as we have heard. It's no longer about, not just about bridges and buildings. We are talking of lasting impact. In other words, we are talking of resilience. We are talking of reliable, for example, energy. We are talking of sustainable systems, smart and digital infrastructure. And ultimately, we are talking about connecting people to opportunities. I think that's what those two keynote speakers have said again and again. Therefore, this conference seeks to bring research, policy, and practice together. So, with that, Honorable Minister and distinguished guests, we are particularly pleased with the international response to DII 2026, because we know the impact of what we are talking about today is not just for Malawi. We have seen examples from South Africa. We want to believe that it's the same issues across the world. And therefore, that is why our Honorable Minister Our participation has come from different countries within Africa and beyond. Therefore, although we are hosting the conference here in Malawi, the conversations that we are talking about here is very much regional and international in character. We are equally pleased that the conference brings together not only academics and researchers, we also have the government representatives, as we have already said, industry leaders, as well as our postgraduate students. I want to believe that this is a deliberate move because we want our discussions to go beyond academia. The discussions, they have to go beyond research findings to inform policy and innovation to attract investment and ultimately deliver solutions, and not just any other solution, but a solution that will improve people's lives. Our aspiration is that at the end of the 2 days, we will not simply have held a successful conference, but a conference that will leave, or we are going to leave with new ideas, strong partnerships, research collaborations, and practical recommendations that can contribute to infrastructure development. If we are not going to have those practical recommendations, then I'll ask a question to you all. Why are we here? Our guests of honor, ladies and gentlemen, the DII agenda is closely aligned with the aspirations of Malawi Vision 2063, which talks about Malawi transforming into a wealthy, self-reliant, and industrialized upper middle income country. That transformation requires more than good intentions. All of us, we have good intentions, but it requires what we are talking about today: infrastructure that supports production, trade, and has a good impact and a reliable as well as a resilient impact on the community. Infrastructure is therefore not simply an enabler of Malawi Vision 2063, it is one of its foundations. Honorable Minister, as MUBAS, we recognize our responsibility, and we are here to contribute to this national ambition with deliberate intentions. Our vision is to be an inclusive, engaged, entrepreneurial, innovative, and research-intensive university. And we therefore seek to ensure that our research and innovation are not confined to academic publications, but they have to be translated into technologies, enterprises, policies, and above all, into practical solutions. That is why, Honorable Minister, I said this morning that we need you to come on campus and just have a tour to see and appreciate what practical solutions are we bringing to this nation. And when you come to MUBAS, you will meet a common phrase amidst us. And that phrase is innovate, create, and generate. And that's who we are. There is a quotation often attributed to Peter Drucker, which says, the best way to predict the future is to create it. And for us, this is particularly relevant to MW 2063. The Malawi we want in 2063 will not simply happen. We must design it, we must invest in it, we have to build it and sustain it. And that is why MUBAS is here and is an active participant in this particular process. We are increasingly strengthening the connection between education, research, entrepreneurship, and industry. A good example, Honorable Minister, is that as an institution, we have the MUBAS Commission Limited. This is a private arm of the institution, and it has a number of subsidiaries. Within these subsidiaries, there is an inch belt, which is a firm that is a one-stop shop for all the construction. Talk of design, talk of the actual construction, whether it's the supervision, everything you name it, within the engineering and built environment, we have this particular theme, with the aim of being practical and apply what we have or what we have been learning on the ground and provide what we are talking about today, a resilient or a long-lasting impact on our community. Within the same, we also have a MUBAS mining company. So, Honorable Minister, we are creating platforms through which academic knowledge and technical expertise can generate commercial and developmental value for our community. We also have an agricultural mechanization project, Honorable Minister, which is fully supported by the Public Sector Investment Program. And through this initiative, MUBAS is developing and manufacturing agricultural technologies. Currently, we have handheld tractors, planters, and other equipment. And this is not all. We are also working with different stakeholders in producing different spare parts for the development of our nation. These initiatives demonstrate our determination to move from knowledge generation to knowledge application and commercialization for the impact of our people. They also demonstrate the type of university, industry, government partnership that is necessary if Malawi is to achieve the aspirations of MW 2063. Honorable Minister, the MUBAS is your trusted partner. And as a university with a strong focus on engineering, technology, business, and applied sciences, MUBAS appreciates the complexity of the infrastructure challenge facing Malawi. And we need infrastructure that is not only functional, but as I've said again and again, infrastructure that is resilient, affordable, and sustainable. Honorable Minister, we have also heard here from the presenters to say no single institution can solve these challenges alone. Government has a role, universities have a role, as well as the industry, the professional bodies, and developmental partners, as well as the communities themselves. And therefore, we need partnerships that go beyond signing a memorandum of understanding. We need partnerships that produce research. It should invest in technologies and jobs, create jobs, enterprises, and be able to produce measurable development outcomes. We particularly value government's perspective on how research, innovation, and investment partnerships can support Malawi's infrastructure priorities. We also invite industry and professional bodies to share the challenges they face, because those challenges can become opportunities for research and innovation. And as I've already said, MUBAS is here, not just for the government, but even for the industry. The issue that we are talking about here, we need to be one. We produce research, we produce knowledge, the industry comes in, they put in money, and then we have the government side producing the policies that we need to create an environment that would help us Malawi Vision 2063. Honorable Minister, this is not my show. Therefore, before I conclude, allow me to sincerely thank the local organizing committee led by Professor Teresa Nkandawire for the tremendous work that has gone into organizing this conference. Yesterday or last night when I was talking with her, I said, I hope you're going to sleep because we need you alive tomorrow. So organizing an international conference of this magnitude requires months of planning, commitment, sacrifice, and teamwork. Professor Nkandawire, thank you very much, together with your team. I also extend our sincere appreciation to our sponsors, UGI, our partners, and all collaborating institutions for their support. To our keynote speakers and all the presenters, thank you. What you have shared, especially this morning, I am the witness to that. It has changed the way I'm looking at things. the way we should do things, we need to be very, very intentional. I think that's what we need to do. Thank you very much. And to all delegates, thank you for traveling to Malawi and for contributing your expertise to this important conversation. Our guests of honor, ladies and gentlemen, our expectation is simple but ambitious. When you conclude this conference, let us not leave behind only conference papers and photographs. Let us leave behind new partnerships, new research collaborations, new innovations, new investment opportunities, but above all, let's leave behind practical recommendations. Let research inform policy, and let policy stimulate innovation and attract investment. If we achieve this, DII 2026 will have contributed not only to academic discourse, but also to the realization of the aspirations of Malawi 2063, and not just for Malawi, but Africa's broader development agenda. As MUBAS, we stand ready to play our part. We are ready to innovate, to generate, and to create. Once again, Honorable Minister, distinguished keynote speakers, partners, delegates, and invited guests, I warmly welcome you to Malawi and to DII 2026. I wish you fruitful deliberations, meaningful engagements, and partnerships that will endure long after this conference. Honorable Minister, the Director of Ceremonies says, I've been given an honor to invite you. However, I note that amidst us, we have the Principal Secretary for Administration in the Ministry of Transport and Public Way. Allow me, Honorable Minister, the PS to do the honors of inviting you to the speech. Thank you, Minister.
Minister of Transport and Public Works, Honorable Japi Muhango MP, Vice Chancellor, MUBAS Associate Professor Nancy Chitera, distinguished keynote speakers, MUBAS Deputy Vice Chancellor, Registrar, Executive Deans and Head of Departments, Executive Dean of the School of Engineering, Associate Professor Mkandawire, Director of Buildings, popularly known as DOB, who is also the Registrar of Architects and Quantity Surveyors, Suka, and all senior government officials here present, the chairperson of the organizing committee, Prof. Teresa Mkandawire, and your committee, invited guests, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen, once again, a good morning. I am honored and privileged today to invite the Honorable Minister of Transport and Public Works to address us at this conference. As I'm doing that, allow me to say a word and to comment on a few issues that have been spoken. I take note this is an honorable gathering where distinguished academia, technocrats, industries, investors, and government officials meet to share knowledge, experiences, innovations, and practical solutions on respective areas of expertise under the theme Infrastructure for a New Development Era, Climate Resilience, Innovation, and Investment Partnership. A theme which is both future-looking and challenging us. The theme is particularly relevant to Malawi 2063 agenda, where infrastructure is a critical enabler. As the Vice Chancellor said, it's also a pillar. I also recognize that. Honorable guests of honor, ladies and gentlemen, it is the Ministry of Transport and Public Works mandate to develop infrastructure in Malawi. Though under many challenging circumstances, including climate change and financing, in this regard, collaboration among government, research institutions, academia, and investors is important to offer practical solutions to infrastructure development challenges. As it has been said, collaboration with institutions like MUBAS is very important in ensuring that research and innovation generated by them responds to real infrastructure challenges and generate practical, locally relevant solutions. Furthermore, these solutions have a particular role in developing the human capital required in transport and public works sector. So we depend on such institutions. We encourage MUBAS and other institutions to continue producing graduates who are technically competent, innovative, ethical, and adaptable to the challenging demands in the infrastructure sector. Honorable guests, ladies and gentlemen, it is the expectation of government and the ministry in particular to move beyond conference papers to practical collaborations through joint research, technical studies, innovation, capacity building, and pilot projects. This area, it has been highlighted by each and everyone. I am also cementing on the same. We believe MUBAS is well positioned to serve as an important between academic knowledge and practical infrastructure development. Our shared responsibility should not simply be to build more infrastructure, but build better infrastructure and to develop the people, systems, and knowledge needed to manage it sustainably. At this point, allow me to congratulate MUBAS and its partners for successfully hosting the 12th International Conference on Infrastructure Development and Investment in Africa, which has created a platform for partners to exchange knowledge and explore practical solutions to infrastructure challenges. Honorable guests, ladies and gentlemen, I don't want to take the show. Assistant Prof. Kandawire and Terence did the job for me, introducing the Honorable Minister. I would not want to belabor more, but to agree with you, he is a man of action. He's been in the ministry from January, and as a ministry and as a principal secretary, we can attest to how he works. We have a number of infrastructure that are taking shape, which were not in good shape. We have launched a lot of works to be done. He oversees almost 8 directorates, which are diverse in terms of civil aviation, public buildings, roads, railways, and you can name it. He also holds, I tell him, 4 distinct positions, which I tell him I don't know how he managed. He's a member of Rumbi. He's government leader in the House of Parliament. He's a vice president in the north of the DPP. He is the Minister of Transport and Public Works. I know he is also a president of Commonwealth. You can name them. It is now my singular honor and privilege to invite the Minister of Transport and Public Works, Honorable Japim Kandawire, to address us and officially open the conference. Honorable Minister, sir, I yield the floor to you. Thank you.
Vice Chancellor, we're still from the old school. I was very observant. Very observant. All of you have spoken from your phones, tablets, and all sorts of things. But those of us from the old school, newspapers. That's the difference, isn't it? Probably it's now time for us to join the fold and move on and start using technology. For now and today, we are still in the old school. Let me recognize the presence of Mr. Fergus Gondwe, Principal Secretary in the ministry, and all those that have accompanied you to this important conference. Our Chancellor, Associate Professor Nancy Chitera, the Deputy Vice Chancellor, Professor Kosa. I would quickly want to recognize Professor Musonda from the University of Johannesburg. Distinguished keynote speakers, Maona, Professor from University of Johannesburg, I can't remember your name, Gumbo. My own brother, Dr. Baneti Kandawire, Executive Dean of the School of Engineering, and your colleague, Dr. Matibwiri, from who is Executive Dean, School of Built Environment. I hope I'm getting things right. They were not provided for in my notes, but I was. Sorry, I've got 2 chairpersons. I've got the chairman of SIRA, Matibwiri. His man is here. And then Professor Gocha from Roads Authority. I have abundant interests in my ministry. Yeah, chairperson, forgive me. Not intentional, but one of those things. Executive deans here present, senior government officials, captains of industry, Madam Teresa Nkandawire, Professor, Chairperson of the Organizing Committee, your entire membership. Invited guests, colleagues from all over. There's Belgium here, there's UK here, there's Zimbabwe, there's Rwanda, and those that I've not mentioned. Zambia here, all of you feel recognized. Members of the media, ladies and gentlemen, some wanted to flatter me, but I would like to tell them what they were saying here is not true. It's not true. Professor, it is always humbling to be in the midst of the best brains, not small brains, the best brains. I am not shy to say that gathered here are the best brains. Oh, Professor, these are the best brains. I am today accompanied by honorable colleagues. You call yourselves engineer so-and-so, architect so-and-so, what professor so-and-so, doctor so-and-so, for us you are the honorable. Yes. Call yourselves whatever you want to call yourself. You went to all manner of schools, top notch, Harvard, what? For us you are the honorable. Yes. We are elected people. So we get our trust from the voters, from the citizens. Honorable colleagues, seated in the middle of this important conference, welcome. I did indicate, Vice Chancellor, that it is always humbling to sit in the middle of the best. We are not the best. We are neither doctors, we are neither engineers, we are somewhere from elsewhere. We come from the streets. But when we gather and sit in the middle of the best, we also become the best. It therefore gives me great pleasure and honor to join you this morning for the official opening of the 12th International Conference on Infrastructure, Development and Investment in Africa. Professor Musonda, you repeatedly said, quote, this DII is the 12th. So 11 gone. I don't know what has been the output. Probably at an opportune time, you share with us what has happened over these years. Vice Chancellor, you invited me to come and visit your institution. I will gladly do so. I would have done that today. Unfortunately, I've got another meeting in the longer 17 hours, so I have to be rushing back to the longer. But I'll make time one of these days with my colleagues to come and appreciate the institution. Some young man stood here. He's from the insurance industry. I can't see him. I don't know where he's seated. One of the sponsors. He was getting scared by you guys. You are intimidating him. He kept saying, no, my lectures are here, my lectures are here. Now, if you fluff, then you become a laughing stock. But he did a commendable job. You must always applaud yourselves for having produced such type of cadres from your institution. Most of these guys are also products of the very institution that you meet in these corridors. This one was also from the same institution. That one is giving me problems in the ministry. This one, I'll fire him one of these. He's a good man. He's a good man. So we will visit one of these days, just to assure you. So at the very outset, allow me to congratulate the Malawi University of Business and Applied Sciences, the University of Johannesburg, the Center for Applied Research and Innovation in the Built Environment, and the Africa Sustainable Infrastructure Mobility Program for successfully organizing this important international conference. This collaboration demonstrates the value of partnerships in advancing research, innovation, and sustainable infrastructure development. I also warmly welcome all our international delegates to Malawi, the home of Africa. We are honored to host this distinguished gathering of scholars, policymakers, engineers, investors, and development practitioners from across Africa and beyond. Your presence reflects our shared commitment to shaping the future of infrastructure through knowledge exchange, innovation, and collaboration. Ladies and gentlemen, infrastructure is one of the fundamental foundations upon which nations build economic prosperity, social inclusion, and sustainable development. For Malawi, our economic transformation depends heavily on the quality, resilience, and efficiency of our infrastructure. Reliable transport networks, resilient public infrastructure, and reduced logistics costs are essential to improving productivity, competitiveness, and access to opportunities. Our farmers need dependable roads to reach markets. Our businesses need efficient transport systems to move goods at lower cost. And our citizens need public infrastructure that is safe, reliable, and capable of withstanding the growing impacts of climate change. Infrastructure development is therefore not simply about constructing physical assets. It is about creating opportunities, reducing poverty, improving service delivery, and building a competitive, inclusive, and resilient economy. It is against this background that the theme of this conference, Infrastructure for a New Development Era, Climate Resilience, Innovation, and Investment Partnerships, is particularly timely and relevant. Climate change is challenging conventional approaches to infrastructure planning and development. Increasingly frequent and severe weather events demonstrate that infrastructure must be designed not only for today's needs, but also for the uncertainties of tomorrow. At the same time, technology is rapidly transforming how infrastructure is planned, enhanced, constructed, and maintained. Digital technology, artificial intelligence, build information modeling, smart and renewable energy solutions are creating new possibilities for the built environment. Our task is to embrace these innovations responsibly and translate them into practical solutions that improve the lives of our people. Esteemed ladies and gentlemen, this vision is firmly aligned with Malawi 2063, our long-term national development agenda. Malawi 2063 identifies infrastructure as a critical enabler of agricultural commercialization, industrialization, and sustainable urbanization. Without modern, reliable, and climate-resilient infrastructure, our aspirations for inclusive economic growth and the national transformation cannot be fully achieved. In the transport and public works sector, our approach is therefore centered on 5 key priorities. First, is preserving, rehabilitating, and completing existing infrastructure to protect public investments and improve service delivery. Second is developing roads, bridges, and public buildings that are climate resilient and fit for purpose. Thirdly, strengthening and integrating multimodal transport system covering rail, roads, aviation, and marine transport in order to improve connectivity and facilitate trade. Fourth, is mobilizing responsible private sector investment through public-private partnerships and innovative financing mechanisms anchored in sound feasibility studies, appropriate risk allocation, value for money, and transparent implementation. Finally, improving project delivery through technology, strengthened quality assurance, local capacity development, and effective infrastructure asset management. These priorities require more than government action alone. It is supposed to be collective. So all of us together must play a ball. Recognize that achieving our missions requires strong and sustained collaboration among government, academia, industry, investors, and the development. Universities have a particularly important role to play, and therefore that's where it comes into. They are not only centers of teaching and learning, they are also engines of research, innovation, and national development. The knowledge and evidence generated through research can help governments make better policy decisions, improve professional practice, and identify more effective and sustainable solutions. It remains committed to creating an enabling environment that supports infrastructure investment, encourages innovation, and strengthens collaboration amongst the academia, industry, and the public sector. We firmly believe that evidence-based policy making must remain at the heart of sustainable infrastructure development. I am therefore confident that the research and the ideas to be presented during this conference will contribute to shaping policy, improving practice, and informing future investment decisions. I commend MUBAS and its partners for creating this important platform for dialogue and knowledge exchange. I encourage all delegates to engage openly, share experiences, and challenge one another constructively. The success of this conference should not be measured only by the number of papers presented or discussions held. Its true value will be reflected in the partnerships forged, innovations developed, policies influenced, and practical solutions that will emerge. As we deliberate over the coming days, I challenge all of us to move beyond academic discussion and translate knowledge into practical policy recommendations, investable projects, and innovative interventions that deliver measurable development impact. Malawi 2063 presents us with a bold vision of an inclusively and self-reliant. Achieving this vision requires infrastructure that is resilient, efficient, inclusive, and fit for the future. May the knowledge share, partnerships established, and during this conference contribute meaningfully to building resilient and climate-smart infrastructure, not only for Malawi, but for Africa and the entire globe. I wish you fruitful deliberations and a pleasant stay in the warm heart of Africa. This was what you had prepared for me. You see, Vice Chancellor, listen, Madam Vice Chancellor, this is what you had prepared for me. Because you wanted to speak, you wanted me to speak what you wanted. And I've done just that. But if I was given an opportunity to speak my mind, I was not going to say this. I was not going to say it. But because I have already indicated that I will be visiting your institution not too long from now, I will seize that opportunity to speak my mind. I will seize that opportunity to speak my mind. The difference is that you colleagues are busy in classes, in the lecture rooms, what. For us, we are in practice. That's what I was saying. I was going to say things differently. Not necessarily indicate that you're not getting it right now. Because if it were not for you, probably would not have been here, isn't it? So you get things right, but you use this classwork. Use this classwork. I would like to say this. When we first met Professor, I jumped on this man. Call him a dean, call him associate professor, but I'm talking about this man. Not too long ago, there was some activity in Lilongwe, BICC. Sira, Konje is here. Engineer Konje, because that's what you do for yourself. A very important event. So there were pavilions on display, and this man and these people were also displaying. I was amazed. And that's why I'm saying I would like to visit quickly. I was amazed. You see, colleagues, Professor, we are talking about infrastructure here. Infrastructure is very wide. Very wide. Someone in their presentation mentioned mining. Was it Professor Musonda or who was it? Oh, mining. I would like to say this, Professor, and the entire conference. Mining is the next big thing for this country. And I thought by now, as an institution, you should have moved miles. I'm saying so in line of what I saw in the long way. When the associate professor here in Kandawiri and the team were taking me through their pavilion. Thought we're not doing as much. We're not doing as much. So let me speak more when I come to the university one of these days. But the point I'm driving home is let us do much. We take 2 minutes. If you're going to talk to Google, he will tell you few meetings, more action. Few meetings, more action. We have wasted a lot of our time in this country in meetings. Meetings. The whole day you sit in a meeting. The next day you're in meetings. The next day you're in meetings. And you do nothing. So we are departing from that. Less meetings and more work. I wish you well during this conference. I've challenged Professor Musonda here. There are times we keep talking about capacity. I may not have the capacity in my country. I have no capacity, but I will my country. I'm happy here. Contributing in a small way, isn't it? We have, over years, developed enormous capacity, Professor. But we have lost our people. We have lost our people. Where are they? MUBAS has been in existence for years and years. Where are our people? They sugar. I was challenging Professor that if you go to Washington, you meet Malawians in white hair, like him, the deputy vice chancellor. Because this is what professors like. In white hair. He went to America to upgrade, okay? And stayed there. Never came back. Here we are complaining about skill. What has gone wrong? This is a phenomenon that we need to research on. What has gone wrong? Why are we losing these people? They are busy building other capitals. We are trying to develop here. Then we invested in those people. Food for thought. Food for thought. Anzira kumano se mulimono. Asikana nzero zawo zokuya. Mwamangana muno. It is now my singular honor. These were lighter moments, isn't it? Yes, these were lighter moments. I simply wanted to share what is in me, right? So they were lighter moments. For me, when it comes to work, I like to work with people that want to work. If you don't want to work, you are not my friend. I like people that are ready to work. We need to collectively move this country from where it is today. Not only this country, Africa as a region. No one will do that for us. We must do it ourselves. We have the skills, we've got the capacities, not that we're lacking, only that we've not used those skills properly. Those are my thoughts. I'm a street kid, but I speak my mind. Those are my thoughts. But not professor, not just an ordinary school, not just an ordinary street kid. I also went to school. All that you're more educated than myself. But I also went to school. So, but let's reserve this for another day, where we can discuss more. Some of us are very passionate about this country. We want to try to move it from where it is today to some better levels so that we leave a legacy. That's what the president wants. Let's leave a legacy where people remember us for having done good things. Institutions of higher learning are not there to teach thieves. They are there to teach ethical people. Institutions of higher learning are not there to teach thieves, but to teach people that are of high ethical conduct. Singular honor. It was, now it is. It is my singular honor and privilege to declare the 12th International Conference on Infrastructure Development and Investment in Africa officially open. I wish all of you good luck, enjoy your stay here. If there's something that we can do to make you stay here comfortable, the team is here. These men and women professor, are not ordinary. They're not. They will make your stay here comfortable. If you need our intervention, whatever it is, let us know. We are always at your disposal. God bless Malawi. God bless Africa. I thank you very much for your kind attention.
Thank you so much, Honorable Minister. We will have a very short, small presentation. It's going to be done by our VC. It's a presentation of some small gifts to Honorable Minister, Principal Secretary, Professor Innocent Musonda, Professor Tarinos Gumbo, Architecture Terrace Namaona, Engineer Gerard Konje, who is the CEO for the Construction Industry Regulatory Authority. May you please present the gifts. We will start one by one, and we will start with the Honorable Minister, and the others may follow.
Thank you, Prof. Thank you very much. Oh, thank you very much.
Come to you, Jay.
Yeah, okay. Okay, I'll come. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yes.
Next, Professor Innocent Musonda. Okay, and Professor Trano Skumbo. And Architect Terrace Namaona. And last but not least, Engineer Gerard Konji. Distinguished guest of honor, Professor Mkandawile, Professor Msunda, Professor Gumbo, Architecture Namaona, Engineer Konje, and all members of Parliament that are present here, Mr. Webster Sambo, Ms. Charity Chimanga Sasa, Ms. Jacinta Matenda, Tamani Nkonomvula, a representative from the UGI, and Professor Olukani. May we please follow Ms. Muhango. She will guide us to where we will take the picture session, and then a media session will also follow. While those are taking the pictures, we may break out for a tea, and tea is being served just outside this corridor. After that, we will once again gather here for one more presentation before we break for the breakout sessions. Thank you. We may take our leave.